individuals that were injured here in this event. We had an attendance of approximately 50,000 to the Travis Scott Astro World Festival event. What we do know is that at approximately 9 o'clock, 9:15, the crowd began to compress towards the front of the stage, okay? And that caused some panic, and it started causing some injuries. People began to fall out, become unconscious, and it created additional panic. We transported, the Houston Fire Department transported at the start of the mass casualty incident when it was triggered, and the mass casualty incident was triggered at around 9:38 p.m. this evening. After that time, we transported 17 patients to the hospitals. 12 of those patients were transported by Houston Fire Department ambulances. 5 were transported by Harris County Emergency Services. 11 of those that were transported were in cardiac arrest. Okay, we won't know the cause of death of the 8 that are confirmed until the medical examiner has completed his investigation. But we are in the process. The Houston Police Department is sending units out to the hospitals to identify these patients, okay, these fatalities. What we ask the community right now is that if your family member was at this event and you have not spoken to your family member, we have a reunification center that's going to be open at 8686 Kirby. That's the Wyndham Houston Hotel. 8686 Kirby. It's Kirby at 610. We will have Houston Police Department, Houston Fire Department, medical examiner personnel there to assist in providing information and filtering information of those patients that were transported to the hospitals. So if your relative, family member was at this event and you have not spoken to that individual, please, you can go to 8686 Kirby. That is the reunification center. We will have units there available to assist in providing that information. The Houston Fire Department had over 55 units responding to this event. Okay, that's on top of what the event promoters had established for the event. They did have a medical component. They did have some transport units, but of course they were quickly overwhelmed when the crowd started falling out. As I mentioned, over 300 patients were treated at the field hospital that was set up out here at this location. Quickly overwhelmed, the Houston Fire Department stepped in to provide the assistance and fill the gap that was needed to provide the treatment and transport for those patients. I cannot say enough about the incredible work that the Houston Fire Department, the Houston Police Department, the law enforcement that was Live Nation that was out here did in trying to secure what was really a chaotic event. That's what we know right now. I'm going to turn this over to Chief Finner first of all, so he can give his briefing, and then we'll open it up to some questions. Okay?
Hey, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I just want to say a very sad occasion. Nobody could dream of this, but we're here, and I think it's very important that none of us speculate. Nobody has all the answers tonight. I want to thank Live Nation. I want to thank NRG, HFD, our frontline police officers. Nobody has had the opportunity to review any video, and Live Nation has told us that they will allow us to view video. I want to say this because there's a lot of rumors going around, and if you don't have the facts, if you don't have evidence, I'm not going to speak against that. We have hurting families out here. We got a place for people to come. We're going to have some counselors there, our assistants, family assistants, counselors there to get these families through it and connect and find out who's deceased. We don't even have identification on some of these individuals. So my job as a chief of police is to make sure that we find out what happened. we will treat it as an investigation because we don't know. I have investigators out here on the scene. I'm sending investigators to the homes, to the hospitals, because we just don't know. And we will find out. So pray for these families. I think that that's very important. Everybody in our city pray for these families. And we're going to get through it. But we're going to do an investigation and find out, because it's not fair to the producers, to anybody else involved, until we determine what happened, what caused the surge. We don't know, but we will find out. And is there anything criminal? We've heard rumors of people injecting some people of drugs. So I want to check all that out. We'll open up for questions.
We received reports early on in the morning that several guests had already gone through security and were traveling over to get through the entrance. Was there an increase in security made at the time?
Yeah, we made plans, and let me just give you some numbers right quick, because I know that was going to come up. We had 367 police officers here assigned today, 241 security officers, so a good security plan. But again, I want to determine and look at everything critically and just see what happened. And we don't have those answers, so it was on the news today. We did have problems on the front. Kids, for whatever reason, started rushing, and it got out of control a little bit, but we got it under control. But I don't think this incident is related to what happened that caused the deaths. Okay? Anything else?
Hey, Chief, what about tomorrow? Will Astro.Things continue?
No, and again, I want to thank Live Nation and everybody's involved for working with us and realizing, you know what? We got to grieve for these families right now, and that's most important. Help them put their lives back together. Help them get through this tough time. And I want to thank them and everybody, the judge and everybody, for saying, you know what, we're not going to have a concert tomorrow.
Chief, I know
Go ahead.
a number of people have come from out of town. If their families can't find them and can't show up here, is there a phone number for them to contact?
We don't have a phone number right now because I don't want them just calling the hotel. But that location, the Wyndham, 8686 Kirby, if you can't find your kids, that's where you need to go. Thanks for asking.
And I'll point out just on what the chief was saying. Some of the folks that, they're working to identify all the victims, but what has been made clear, the folks that were transported, some as young as 10. And so really tonight is about that, is about connecting families with the information that they need. That's what we need the community's help doing, is spreading the word about the Wyndham Houston, spreading the word about if you don't know where your family member is who came here, you need to pay attention to this. You need to get them identified. You need to figure out where they are, and then we'll run through the rest. And no, I'm asking these same questions. Was it connected at the the issues at the entrance? The sense is that those were some that happened very early, whereas this catastrophe was much later. But all of those questions are being looked at. Tonight's focus, though, needs to be on the families and on the lives that we lost, many of them extremely young, tragically young.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chief Pena,
Yes, sir.
There was word that Travis Scott actually stopped his portion of the concert whenever this started happening. He tried to get people to, I guess, spread out around where the situation was happening. Do you have information on that?
Well, look, again, that's still everything's still under investigation. I do know that Chief Satterwhite was present up front. I'm not sure how much we can divulge at this time. That wouldn't be speculation. But at some point, the show was stopped when the crowd was surging.
Again, and Chief Satterwhite, if you want to speak as well, they did cooperate with us, and Travis Scott did. And correct me. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening. Yes. So once we started having the mass casualty incident where people were starting, we started having CPR on several people, and it happened all at once. I mean, I know Chief Pena mentioned 938. It seemed like it happened with just over the course of just a few minutes. Suddenly we had several people down on the ground experience some type of cardiac arrest or some type of medical episode. And so we immediately started doing CPR and moving people right then. And that's when I went and met with the promoters and Live Nation, and they agreed to end early in the interest of public safety. So yeah, we did do that.
Thank you. Any more questions?
How many total casualties, Chief?
Total casualties. So here's what we know. We transported 23 people. We had over 300 patients that were seen at the field hospital here at the on site. We had we transported 11 of those transported were in CPR in progress, and we have 8 confirmed fatalities at this point.
And of the 300, we're talking everywhere from bumps and bruises.
Exactly,
To
and that's throughout the day. Yes, sir. So the mass casualty incident was triggered, as I mentioned, right after 9 o'clock this evening. 17 of the 23 transports happened after that MCI was triggered. 6 transports happened before that throughout the day for just various medical issues.
But the 300, Chief, to clarify, that was the mass incident.
No, the 300 was yes, that was including the mass incident and anything that was seen throughout the day. Okay.
Some words in Spanish, including going over the numbers.
Yes. So en español esta tarde ocurrió una tragedia inmensa aquí en el Travis Scott Astro World Festival, donde atendían 50,000 personas. Aproximadamente a las 9:30 de esta noche empezaron a tener episodios de fallecimientos y otros problemas médicos, sí, que ocurrieron a causa de los que atendían, que se estaban crushing.
Sí, empujando
Sí.
hasta llevar a la muerte.
Y así es que tuvimos bastantes heridos y lesionados. El departamento de bomberos transportó a 17 personas. 8 han fallecido hasta este momento, fueron 8, y las edades son de las que han transportado de 10 a más altos, sí, las edades. Hasta ahorita, este momento, lo único que sabemos factualmente es que son 8 los fallecidos. Hemos tenido más o menos 300 personas que fueron heridas o lesionadas durante este evento, sí, durante el día. 23 personas fueron llevadas al hospital por ambulancia y, como le digo, 8 han fallecido.
Sabemos en cuestión de el incidente al que se están refiriendo, habían mencionado en inglés sobre el cardiac arrest.
Sí, sí, problemas cardíacos. No sabemos hasta que hagan la investigación, la autopsia. Vamos a ver qué fue la causa de muerte, pero sí sabemos que estaban dándoles resucitación a los pacientes, en los que llevaban a los hospitales. Sí. Any other questions?
Can you give us an age range?
No.
No, we don't. I know we had a patient that was as young as 10, but we don't know what the range is at this moment.
¿Queda cancelado para mañana?
Para mañana va a estar el programa cancelado, sí. Ahorita lo que pedimos a la comunidad es que tengan a estas familias en sus pensamientos y recen por ellas, porque fue una tragedia. Vienen las personas aquí a divertirse y esto es lo que ocurrió. Todavía hay muchas cuestiones que no tenemos respuestas a este momento. El departamento de policía está haciendo su investigación y cuando tenga más información nosotros pasamos esa información. Pero lo que quiero decir es que estamos muy orgullosos del trabajo que hicieron los bomberos hoy, el departamento de policía y la seguridad que estaba aquí. Gracias a la juez Hidalgo por su apoyo en estos esfuerzos, porque, como le digo, eran más de 50,000 personas que atendieron a este evento. Y trágicamente ocurrió, tuvimos 8 personas que murieron esta noche, pero estamos enfocados en la investigación y para saber qué fue la causa de esta tragedia.
Thank you, Chief.